I'm going to start by asking you all a question. Who has ever heard someone say to a 5-year-old, "Your dreams are impossible and unrealistic, go find new ones"? The answer is no. When we're 5, we aren't even allowed to say the words impossible or real or can't, because nothing is impossible and you always can. The possibilities and pathways at such an age are endless. So who would say a rock star is impossible? How do you know that your 5-year-old won't end up taking the right path to lead him or her to be the Elvis of the 21st century, or the 2032 Olympic high jump gold medalist? We don't know that, so why say no? At this time, there are no limits, no budgets, no closed roads, no cancellations. There's nothing stopping us from our one true dream. And if by some chance we encounter those dreams, those things, we believe that we can overcome them. And we want to overcome them, and we're told that we can. We want to persevere and be exactly who we envisioned ourselves as. So why would you suppress the drive of someone who wants to work hard and might have the potential to become who they want to be? The answer is you don't, which is why we don't tell our kids that their dreams are impossible and unrealistic and unreasonable. As we start to get older, we develop interest in baseball or acting or drawing, and we begin to narrow our focus on those things. Whenever we start really loving an extracurricular, we start to put more and more time into it, and at some point we say, wow, I love this. What if I could make money out of this? But what if I could be the next LeBron James? Then we start to look at those who made it big in their area, and we realize that we want to be exactly like them, so that we can end up where they are now. It's a commonality to idolize those that succeed the farthest in the things that we love. Football players idolize Tom Brady, artists idolize Andy Warhol, cellists idolize Yo-Yo Ma, but it becomes really difficult sometimes to accept that not everyone can be that 1% of 1% of 1%. And it is especially difficult for sports players to come to terms with this, because sometimes it's not about having the steadiest hand or being able to pick the right colors or training our minds to become more creative in a small room. In sports, a big part of making it big is genetics. Not everyone can be Michael Phelps, because not only is Michael Phelps 6'4", but he also has the wingspan of someone who's 6'7". And I'm not degrading Michael Phelps because he had great genetics, nor am I saying that that's only why he's so successful. What I am saying is that he needed those genetics, and he had to work ridiculously hard, be the first one in the gym and the last one out. He had to be the kid that everyone else tried to copy to get in his position. He had to take time to train when everyone else took breaks. He had to think more about how to be better and get better so that he could do it first. He had to be the hardest worker in the room to get where he is today. But not everyone can be the hardest worker in the room and still be Michael Phelps. Because again, not only is Michael Phelps 6'4", but he also has the wingspan of someone who's 6'7". And that is pure genetics. And that cannot be taught. And it sucks to be the hardest worker in the room, but not have that genetic portion. Especially for 12-year-olds who've been told their whole lives that they can be whatever they want to be. When it gets really difficult is when you're growing up playing basketball, which we all know is a tall person sport, and you have fairly tall parents. Your mom's 5'5", your dad's 6 foot, so realistically with the basic height equation, it's the average of your mom's and dad's height, plus 2 inches for guys and minus 2 inches for girls. You should end up at about 5', 6.5". But then you think, maybe you'll get 1 or 2 extra inches. Maybe I'll be the outlier in the family. Or maybe you'll get 3.5 and be 5'9". You think, maybe I'll end up being the extra tall one in my family. But then, as you start hitting your stopping point of growing, and you go to the doctor and you're only 5'4", and they say you might get 2 or 3 more inches if you're really lucky, and you realize you're not going to be 5'9". You're going to be 5'6", 5'7", and at that point you had so much riding on being taller than you were actually supposed to be, but then you ended up being exactly what the doctors told you you would be. That girl who plays basketball actually plays volleyball and is standing right here on this stage. I'm 5'6.5", which is exactly what I should be based on that equation I told you. I've been playing volleyball for 6 years now, and I've always been the short girl trying to play the tall girl spot. When I tell people I'm short, they always say, "You're not short." To which I respond, for my sport and my position, I'm very undersized. Max Preps found that in Division I volleyball, 0.5% of girls are 5'6" or shorter. In Division 2, 2.5%. And in Division 3, it's 10.7%. In volleyball, the positions can be split up into 3 major spots: hitters, liberos, and setters. The girls that have to be the tallest are the hitters. So go figure, right? I choose to be the hitter, the tallest position, and also the position with the most competition. Because on a team of 10 players, usually about 6 of them are hitters. And just my luck, pretty much every team I've ever been on has had 1 extra. So I compete against 6 other girls who are the height I hope to be or taller. I think this picture does a really good job of depicting that. To put things in perspective, on my last team, the hitters were 5'10", 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2", 6'2", and 5'10". And then there was me, at a whopping 5'7", if you give me that extra half an inch, or 5'8" if you look at my recruiting profile. On my team specifically, the girls I was competing against for my specific hitter position have all been over 6 feet tall. Because of this, my experience in volleyball has always consisted of me getting in the gym more than everyone else, practicing against my garage wall when I'm home and have a light homework night, training to be faster and stronger than everyone else on my weekends, putting in maximum effort in practice, taking every opportunity to show that I was going to try to do whatever it took to compete with them. I still remember parents and kids actually praising themselves for not needing to put in that extra work, for not needing to take private lessons or train extra or stay after practice. Their kid or she was special because of it. She didn't have to work hard to get where she was. She was gifted with something I could only dream about: height. I actually got a lot of shade for taking private lessons especially and having a trainer. Thankfully, my parents could afford to put me through lessons with a coach. But I was training on my own too. Every day over the summer during my middle school years, my mom and I went to a local volleyball court. We would practice from 9 to 12 every single day in the scorching, hot, Floridian summer sun. And I wasn't even training for beach. I was training for indoor. So after all this practicing in the hot summer sun, I really started to come after all the working in the sun and coaches and home against my wall, I started to getting closer and closer to taking my teammates' playing time. And eventually, I did. That was when I realized how much my extra hours in the gym, my extra efforts to visualize before each game, my hyper-focus and mental effort into each moment on the court was actually paying off. Because it was always so hard looking for a way to maximize your time, potential, energy, just to be at the same level as the girls who got to be 6 feet tall. But what do you know? A little playing time is sacrificed, and suddenly all those girls who are throwing shade are putting in extra time too. I held on for as long as I could. I kept at my game. I did whatever I could to always have the highest vertical when everyone else had to reach. I kept improving everything I could. But eventually, the girls who just had height were suddenly working just as hard as me. And that meant that they were getting better faster than they were before. They had height and work ethic, but now I just had the work ethic. Suddenly all those snide comments about my height became really real to me. They really got to me because I realized that eventually they would be true. And that time was in the near future. I understood that it wasn't just about hard work like all the fairy tales tell us. It isn't just about effort or ambition. We are predisposed to succeed in certain areas, and volleyball isn't mine. One of the things that really helped me understand just how much easier it is for tall people is having my brother. This is a picture of me, my brother, and my mom about 4 years ago. This is a picture of us a couple months ago. My brother is a freshman at Pine Crest and is 6'4" at 15. I've seen all the sides of natural height prejudice in sports that you can imagine. I've seen that it sucks because I'm short and I can't compete at the same level as everyone else. And I've also seen the foul against the big guy just because he's big. I've seen the football coach and the volleyball coach and the track coach and the weightlifting coach all come running after the big guy just because he's big. I've also seen and lived the part where I have to be happy for all the success that my brother gets because he's so tall. And this isn't even just a sports thing. In many other aspects of life, taller people are plucked out of society to be given leadership positions. Because of their height, we are forced to naturally look up to them, both literally and figuratively. Business Insider found in a 2004 report that people who are 6 feet tall, on average, will earn $166,000 more per year than someone who's 5'5". Having my brother get the good end of the gene pool really opened things up for me, and it wasn't as hard as you'd think it'd be. In reality, there are restrictions, there's obstacles, there are closed roads, and there are budgets. But in reality, not everything is a clear pathway. I know that there are girls who are going to be taller than me, and that are going to work just as hard as me, and they'll beat me out. And I've come to terms with that. Understanding where I am on the spectrum has allowed me to not become overly obsessive over the numerous times when the bigger and better girl can do more than me on the court. And yeah, there were times when that really sucked because I was doing everything I could and more, but it just never worked out for me. And yes, height is to blame for that. But understanding that was the key to my success. Understanding where I fell off in comparison to everyone else allowed me to love my sport even more. I didn't obsess over the numerous blocks I couldn't hit over, or the girls who, with height and a ridiculous vertical, both of which they were born with. I came to terms with where I was, and there was a huge weight lifted off my shoulders because of it. Playing your sport and doing what you love is something I really wish I could give to everyone. I wish everyone could find the thing that they're absolutely obsessed with and just cannot get enough of. I love that feeling when I block the 6-foot right side who committed her sophomore year. I love that feeling when everyone's shocked at how hard the little blonde girl can hit the ball. I love that feeling when you block the girl who mentioned to you that short girls need to start moving to the back row. I love that feeling when you have more kills than her. And I wish that everyone could feel that. But it doesn't last forever. And that's the hard part. After a while, it only comes in small portions, but I keep playing for those small portions. I'm going to still find them. I'm not going to give up something I love because of the people around me. Even if your dreams aren't the same as those of your 5-year-old self, don't be afraid to go get them. Try for them. You may not end up exactly where you want to be, or maybe you end up loving that place even more. But do it for you. Do it for you because you can and you know you can. Maybe not forever, but for a few moments of glory. Because those moments of glory are those moments that no one can take away from you. And I can personally vouch for that. Thank you.